Chapter 26, the shortest chapter yet. In chapter 25, they had a close to normal day. Henry came over with his little brother to visit. They sat on the porch. They played games. There's that wonderful metaphor at the end of the porch being a ship that took them away from all the madness. And if you listen very carefully, you could hear lovebirds singing in the background with Seth and Ella Rose. Let's see what happens here. But he still hasn't had the talk with his dad yet, so let's see what happens here. Chapter 26. October swept in, bringing more change and occasionally cooler days. Trees stood bare, salt still encrusted every inch of earth, but big loaves of Mama's yeasty bread finally graced the table at every meal. Though fires continued to burn, the sound of hammers and saws, axes and crowbars could be heard everywhere, eating away at the twisted wreckage, exposing usable lumber, sinks, commodes, and always more dead souls. Wagons and buggies now rumbled along many streets without hindrance, and trains puffed into the city daily with carloads of supplies and workers. Besides the endless dead list, the Daily News now advertised brooms, shovels, nails, and coffee pots. Want ads for carpenters, tinners, bricklayers, and cooks. Lost item ads listed a missing 3-story chicken coop made of iron spokes and wood, and a dairy herd of 150 cows and calves, all swept away in the storm. And then there were personal ads, like the one that stated simply, Fred, can you see that? Yeah. Fred Heidenreich, if alive, come the 24th in church. Your brother is there. Aunt Julia searched each paper, read every word, then folded it and placed it in a box with the others. She spent the first half of October plastering walls and painting, then turned to helping the work gangs remove the debris all around us. I think it did Aunt Julia's heart good to see the wreckage finally cleared away, but my long days of working were fast coming to an end. Public school would open soon, thanks to donations and volunteer workers. The Daily News announced that high school students needed to report on October 22nd to the campus known as K School on Avenue K, till repairs to Ball High School could be finished. Central High, Josiah's school, had been wrecked too, but he'd left last year with no plans to return. After the death of his mother the past winter, his wages had been needed to help support himself and Ezra. It seemed odd to think about school again after all we'd been through, and for a short while I let myself daydream about the possibility of not returning at all. Debris-filled lots were being cleared all over town, making way for thousands of new homes and businesses that were needed. So I knew I could get work. Papa had done so easily. Josiah had too, and I could tell that, like me, he'd discovered a satisfaction in his labor not every man finds. But I decided not to speak of these things to Papa just yet. Long before our lives changed, I'd made him a promise to finish school, and I would stand by my word. Just days before school started, Ella Rose stated firmly that, although her father had left her an adequate inheritance, she would not be returning to Ursuline Academy. She looked at me and smiled. I'll be attending public school. I saw Papa open his mouth, no doubt wanting to remind her that she should consider what her father had wanted, but he didn't speak. It surprised me. Aunt Julia's face puckered with concern. She'd come to depend upon Ella Rose for much more than help with Elliot. You'll still remain here with us, won't you? She asked. Ella Rose nodded. For as long as you'll have me. Aunt Julia's fear faded, and she smiled. I smiled too, but not for her happiness. I saw my last year of school unfolding in front of me, full of morning and evening walks with Ella Rose, and the sting of returning to school disappeared.